You, Julius, you, Floyd Shavambu, and you, Dr. Ndlozi, you are touchable. You are touchable. Because you, and I'm saying it publicly now, you are not bigger than this country's law. Now you are getting away bit by bit, but I'm telling you there's a plan here. In this head office, a very strategic, organized intellectual plan to slowly but, daar's hy, Pac-Man, né? Onthou julle, Pac-Man, I'm going to come and chomp you. But you are running, jy hardloop rond, jy. Now you are playing Marco Polo in a swimming pool, Julius. But your swimming pool is een van die opblaas klein swembad. A year later, suddenly the EFF has now woken up to the fact that the shining light of the UIM was not a mood, was not a hissy fit or a tantrum. We are coming for you. I want to put it clear. Julius Malema, your threats, your absolute absurdness, and your stupidity is now going to cause your downfall. Because a year ago you said, when it was said that Neil de Beer has left the ANC and will now fight for justice, your spokesperson said the UIM and Neil de Beer is an insignificant group that has a romance to go into politics. Now, hoor my mooi, frikkie. Good morning. I am the president now of the United Independent Movement Party. And now that we're a political party, we are going to square off, me and you. Now I will send out now a public new approach and invite Julius. I can now, as the president of the United Independent Movement Party, again invite Julius Sello Akasafriki Malema to an open debate on any channel, any platform, any area, any venue, any time, any day. You must come for your hiding, Julius. Stay dat jy paksa kry, and I'm going to give it to you. Now, no letter, no charges, no attack seems to work on you, because not even the speaker, the office of the speaker and parliament would allow me to deliver a letter to submit that you will and must be disciplined in parliament and suspended you. Now, the UIM does not have an infatuation, a current thing where we wake up every morning and think Julius. No. We are not interested. We also don't want to give you the absolute mindset that you matter. The EFF does not matter. They are an empty vessel. They are a bunch of children. They are narcissistic. They are nationalistic and fascists and racist. So I'm saying, julle pak gaan kom. So South Africa, listen, when you write to me and ask me where's my letter against Julius, where's my attack, it doesn't matter, because it's just being postponed because he's being protected. Now, when you are protected by state, there can be no other submission. It is my opinion, not a fact, that seemingly this man is Teflon. He's coated like Teflon. Now, in front of God, justice, and the constitution of this republic, you, Julius, you, Floyd Shavambu, and you, Dr. Ndlozi, you are touchable. You are touchable. Because you, and I'm saying it publicly now, you are not bigger than this country's law. Now you are getting away bit by bit, but I'm telling you there's a plan here. in this head office a very strategic, organized intellectual plan to slowly but, daar's hy, Pac-Man, né? Daar kom hy, onthou julle, Pac-Man, I'm going to come and chomp you, but you are running, jy hardloop rond, jy. Now you are playing Marco Polo in a swimming pool, Julius, but your swimming pool is een van die opblaas klein swembuitjies, Julius. And you can only play that game for another couple of weeks, want jy gaan absoluut in 'n hoekie gedruk word. Now I'm saying to South Africa, give time. Be patient. Jy druk nie 'n avocado ryp nie. Jy wag. So I want to make that clear because again I'm being asked, what is my current tactic of the UIM against EFF? It is very clear. Los ons uit, ons gaan vir hulle neek. Don't worry about it. But if the Freedom Front plus, minus and equals, the DA wat daar sit, the ANC can't complain because they are the EFF's political wing. The EFF, COPE, IFP, al hierdie gemors. Hulle is gemors. Can't squeeze, annihilate, or have the EFF kicked out. That's pathetic. Nie Suid-Afrika hoor my. Nie een politieke party in die parlement van die Republiek het die coconuts om hierdie etter op sy hel te gee nie, maar ek het. Want hy gaan in gebiede en hy moord. Hy praat van moord. He speaks about violence. He goes into Phoenix, into our South African Indian community, and he threatens them. Now listen, threaten again. Ons het planne. En ons plan is nie dom nie. Our plan is to protect the Republic's constitution and face that red cabal, if necessary, face to face. I say it again. The defense of the citizens of this country is currently in the hands of the President of the Republic that is currently duly elected but soon to be retired. 2024. Until then, we ask the police, the defense force and law enforcement, and more importantly, justice, to bloody do your job. And if you cannot, we have the constitutional right to protect ourselves. Now I'm saying, if the EFF brings 2,000, then maybe the UIM can bring 5. The only difference is, those are kids that come in red overalls that is probably made in China. Ons gaan kom met kakie gespits en tekkie en jean. Maar ons is ouer soldate en ons is mense wat weet wat ons doen. That's the big difference. We are here for law and order, not mayhem, chaos and burning. It is very weird that no one has been arrested for the contraventions of when the EFF breaks the DMA Act in this country. Waar's dit? Ek soek bewyse. So it's very simple. This is not a racial thing. It can't be a racial thing because we are a non-racist, democratic, open demographic party. But what we are not going to allow is that certain citizens in this country are protected by law. By breaking it, you've got to pay. If I do it, I get arrested. Now, South Africa, this is not the way that a democratic society with law and order functions. I'm going to bring it back. Now, I was told I must not attack or submit or break down the African National Congress and the EFF and, sorry, the poor DA. And I agree, because we are not going to play like the Democratic Alliance opposition politics. I'm not going to. Die mense van hierdie land is gatvol om te hoor hoe sleg is die ANC. Hulle wil weet wat gaan ek doen. Yes? You don't need an opposition, you need a new government, South Africa. Come now.
And, you know, I usually speak to my colleagues and I say that South African politics is actually, in a regard, is sort of like academic in that essence, where it speaks to academics as well as probably observers or those who understand the language of politics in that regard. And so Neil de Beer's take on the EFF, on the politics and the style of the EFF, is a really serious one. And the United Independent Movement, the UIM, I'm still conducting research on, you know, the perspective, the direction of the party. I know it's much more on the side of non-racial politics. It's more on the side of more inclusivity and not excluding any group in South Africa. I can hear that clearly from the few speeches I've engaged with you know, Neil de Beer's speeches, just like Gayton Mackenzie's speeches as well. I think both of them kind of like role alike on a similar par when it comes to the racial divide of South Africa. And I think it's really interesting, this take he has on the EFF. The EFF seems to be speaking more to the black community of South Africa. And one of the things that interests me a lot about South African politics is how the different parties in South Africa seems to be using the term "our people." And I think that's the term that seems to be problematized, that needs to be problematized and theorized and conceptualized effectively, because the term in itself seems to, in my understanding from an outsider, and I like to say I'm a really proud South African outsider who is really passionate about politics in South Africa, democracy in South Africa. I think we have, South Africa offers a platform for democracy enthusiasts to really understand the dynamics and the tangents with which democracy is framed and with which democracy evolves. And the term "our people" in South African politics, I think, needs a lot of ratification by different parties, because it seems that it's a term that it's conceptualized in a different way by the different parties. And so the way in which the term "our people" is understood by the EFF is different from the way it's understood and conceptualized by the ANC and then the Patriotic Alliance Party and the UIM Party. And it sort of like makes the politics in South Africa, for me, experience sort of like a merry-go-round. And I think that's the core. If that core of the people, who do we refer to by when we say "our people"? The EFF seems to be clear. The "our people" represents the black majority in South Africa. "Our people," for example, for the Patriotic Alliance, seems to refer to the Indians, the people that make up the entire racial collective of South African society. I think this is, you know, the perspective Neil de Beer also tries to propound, and that kind of like gets tricky when we have different parties having a different understanding of what they try to espouse as our people. In a previous video I made here on Kwazame, we see that former President Thabo Mbeki speaks to the fact that it's difficult to exclude anyone from who's South African today and exclude them from that terminology called "our people." So who do we refer to when we speak of "our people"? That this policy will benefit our people, that policy will benefit our people. I think the term tends to veil the reality of the policy changes that are being made by the different parties, and then it sort of like tends to make the politics in South Africa seems to experience more of this merry-go-round, and then reproduces such high-tensed messages that both Julius Malema and Neil de Beer seem to be exchanging. And also other parties also seem to be exchanging with the EFF. And until that term is ratified, I think South African politics would be defined around the arguments that surround who our people in South Africa speaks about and who that term represents, you see. And in my own humble opinion, I'm more conversant with West African politics and West African democracy. I think the populace in those regions are quite clear. And when it speaks to the Burkinabe, for example, it's in Burkina Faso, President Traore speaks to the Burkinabe people. And then when he says our people, he's referring to those people. Or when the Senegalese speak to the people of Senegal, they speak to the people. But in South Africa is much more nuanced. It's in multiple spheres and multiple scales. It kind of like gives a certain drama, dramatic exposition to the term our people, and then it makes South African politics more in a way dramatic and but for me interesting though, to that regard. And so while I would keep on watching and really understanding most of the direction to which this whole election goes on May the 29th, I would just like to probably seek more to understand how the different parties are really understanding the terminology and how probably the EFF's message of One Africa might really encounter a lot of that. We can see that resistance already coming in from within. And I'm sure most of Africans, most of the black populace around the world who seem to resonate with the message of the EFF aren't really conversant with the internal resistance that the EFF seems to be experiencing and how far that would go in that regard. And one thing is for sure, there are many people who have been born and raised and whose only reality seems to be that which has been framed by their understanding of their existence within the space, within the geographical space called South Africa. And to sort of like exclude them from a national consciousness and a wider African consciousness, I think, and I can already see the problems that erupt from that. And that's why many people have termed South Africa as Africa's ticking time bomb, because it's sort of like differs, is more nuanced than most of the politics going around the continent, and really deeply entrenched in its multiracial politicization of issues, and gives a really rich new flavor to African politics that differs from most that occurs in the other parts of Africa. And so I think this was a really explosive comment, a really explosive kickback to the EFF by Neil de Beer, and really interesting facts though, coming from his background being a politician, speaking about how law and order should be at the forefront of these political debates and not necessarily a sort of like a violent space, which South Africa must renege from becoming. But I don't know, what do you guys think about these thoughts? As usual, share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share and like and subscribe, because that's the way you support Kwazemi as a channel, an Afrocentric channel, where we try to understand deeper issues in African history and hopefully develop a collective intelligence on how we wish to build the Africa we want to see as people of Africa. See you in the next one.